everybody. Welcome to our brand webinar series. This is the Content Creator Partnership Playbook, and we are so excited to talk about this really important step of vetting creators beyond vanity metrics and building partnerships that will guarantee ROI. I'm Abby Rodriguez. I'm the founder of Tastemaker Conference, and this is our COO, Candice Probst, and I'll let her introduce herself.
No, I'm Candice Probst. I love working with brands and connecting them with incredible food content creators in our community and helping you achieve all of your marketing goals. We're glad you're here.
Awesome. So, our agenda today is really focus on being more discerning and understanding that authenticity more than ever in influencer and creator marketing is what is actually driving ROI. We're super excited to walk through some live examples and people that we see doing it really well, including, our own background. Between Candice and I, Candice has a website called This Vivacious Life where she is actively doing a lot of partner content. I have a website called The Butter Half. While I don't do as much influencer marketing on that end, I, have been in this space, both of us collectively, for the last 15 plus years. So it's been interesting for us to see what happens in the industry, but also to stay on top of it and make sure that we are really making sure that we are leaders in the creator economy space and being able to give you relevant information when it comes to working with the proper influencers, specifically in the food space. So vetting influencers beyond the numbers, we're going to check out measuring audience alignment and then creative briefs and long-term success, and then we'll open it up for Q&A if there is any at the end. All right, Candice,
All
take
right,
it away.
we're going to get started. So a lot of brands are learning now that going beyond just follower count is definitely where their success lies in creator partnerships, looking at metrics and criteria. So we're going to talk about that key criteria first. A little slide. Yes. So engagement is everything. Engagement is key. This is the equivalent. Engagement online is the equivalent of someone in the store seeing your product and touching it, looking at it, checking out the box, even tasting it, all of those things. So comments, shares, saves, those indicate real connection. And that's exactly what you want. You could have someone with 300,000 followers versus someone with 30,000 followers, and the engagement could be so much higher with this smaller group. So make sure that you're not discounting those smaller creators, especially keeping in mind budget-wise, because it's going to be probably a lot more affordable to work with some of those smaller creators, or micro creators, if you will, even smaller than 30,000. And so checking out engagement is the first step. If there's a creator that you're looking to work with, go check out their account, see what their engagement looks like, see how their audience is interacting with them. Consistency is another really important one. Posting cadence and content style need to align. So ideally, what happens is when a reel pops up, you know who it's from. You know, oh, that's Chelsea's Messy Apron, or oh, that's Bright Moment Co. You know, because they have a style, they have a lighting, they have a way about their editing that tells you it is their content. But also consistency. You don't want someone who's posting once a month and then 3 months later, or they're posting 4 times a week for 4 weeks and then they drop off for 5 months. Consistency is really important, and daily does not have to happen. Instagram has said this too, that for continued exposure of your page, consistency is more important than or quality and consistency over quantity. So Monday through Saturday doesn't have to be posted, but if you are going to post 3 times a week, be consistent of posting, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, for example. And that's coming from the Instagram headquarters. So that's something that you can look at as well. Partnership history. A really important thing is to review past brand collaborations and look at the tone and the quality. You're going to likely see a decrease in views on sponsored posts. Sometimes that just happens, kind of like that pay to play, if you will, on platforms where you'll see all these like crazy high engagements on their regular everyday post, and then content creator does a sponsored post and it is lower. So having realistic expectations that it probably will be lower is good to go into that. But going back and looking at their past brand sponsorships and seeing how they were received. How did their audience engage, save, share, comment? Especially the comments are going to help you a lot in deciphering if this audience is one that is open to, especially if you're doing an online link or a code where you're wanting to do them to do some online shopping. See how that was received. Also, make sure that you're once it gets a little further along, you're going to talk to the creator to get some comments that came in their DMs that you can't necessarily see yourself. So that authentic interaction is very important. Obviously, red flags would be bot-driven growth. You don't want to see someone, it's kind of the same as like on a blog post. If a blog post had 7 comments and 7 stars and all of a sudden they have 3,000, that's a huge red flag and would indicate something was foul playing there. Same thing with Instagram and TikTok and all of those other platforms. You want to make sure that you're not seeing this crazy high growth really fast. We're talking like in a matter of weeks, as well as crazy higher engagement on a sponsored post versus regular posts. It's fine if it goes viral or it goes a little bigger. That's totally okay. But if it's consistently happening with all their past brand partnerships, I would say look into that just a little bit more to see and make sure there was just nothing that was bot driven. All right, next slide. All right, so the top 5 metrics that predict sales are the engagement rate. This is really good. Save to like ratio. So wanting to make sure that that the people who you're going to see a lot of saves, especially if it's something that's a product that people can purchase online. It's a little bit harder with something in stores because sure, they'll save it because it looks great. But if it's something that they can purchase right there with a code or with a click through, with looking at the click through rate from the link that you give, that to me is one of the top ones. The click through rate is going to go really well. This is going to show you how many people were excited enough about your product that they clicked through to check it out. Now that click is usually going to be happening on stories, unless they're using some sort of ManyChat or grocers list to send a link, which many creators do now, which is a wonderful thing. Before, when people were doing Instagram and TikTok posts, we didn't have that option to be able to share a link from the reel right there. You'd have to share it to your stories and share it. So that's exciting. That's a new great thing that's available to you also as a brand. So make sure you're asking the creators that you're working with, do you work with Grocers List or ManyChat or another company like that where you can send links directly as replies to your comments on the reel or the post or the video. Obviously watching the backlink or watching the back codes that come through if people are using your unique code or coupon. This is good. This keeps track of how many people are purchasing using that. And then conversion attribution. I was having a moment from affiliate or UTM tracking. So really all of this boils down to the engagement. Again, coming back to that engagement. Are the people who are watching these videos then being influenced enough to save the video, to like it, to share it, to click through, and to then purchase the product using that coupon code? I will tell you, I have purchased many a product on Instagram because of a creator or an influencer. Many, many, many. And that's how I shop a lot of things now. And I think for a long time we weren't concerned about reviews as much, but there's just so many products coming at us so fast now. If there's not a place for me to look at reviews online, then I'm absolutely going to my creators and sometimes even my creators first that I trust to be like, what did they think about this product? Because I know that if they liked it, I'm going to like it. And I also want them to get nitty gritty. I want them to tell me what they did and what they didn't like about it. So don't be afraid to work with your creators to have them be honest. If there's something that like, I would have preferred it in white, or I would have preferred if, for example, I have a brand that I'm so excited. They're launching a gluten-free version of an Uncrustable. And that's huge for us who are gluten-free. That's very exciting. And I am so excited to share that product. And of course, I'm just thinking of them because I'm so excited about it. As an example, I could say, oh, I wish it were a resealable bag. Obviously, Uncrustables are not resealable, but we're reaching here, right? But I wanted to give an example of I'm going to love this product, and I know that. But if I wanted to share, kind of um, being relatable with my audience, saying it would have been great if there was 6 sandwiches in the box instead of 4, but that just means I need to go buy another box or something like that. But my point is making sure that with your creators, let them be real so that this click-through rate does go through, because they're kind of answering the questions that their audience is already asking, saying, I know, right? I wish there was, 18 to a box like there typically are in an Uncrustable, but it's a gluten-free box, so there's 6, and that's okay. But answering those questions, being real, encourage your creators to truly think about what their audience is going to be asking, and include that in the video, right? I think Taylor Swift said it recently, no press is bad press. And she said, if anyone's talking about me, whether it's good or bad, the first week of a release, it's helping me out. So, all right, next slide. For
Candace, can I add one thought to that? Because I think attribution is a big thing that we have heard a lot over the years when talking to brands of like, how am I tracking this conversion? And so obviously, influencer creator marketing is helpful when you have a URL, but there is still like no perfect way to track attribution when somebody's walking through the grocery store. And I just wanted to call that out to remember that influencer marketing is so wonderful at developing, that authentic relationship that it's like, even if Candace is gluten-free Uncrustables that I've seen her post about millions of times on her socials, maybe I don't click on that link, but next time I go to Wegmans or Target or whatever and I walk past it and I'm like, oh, those are the Uncrustable or the gluten-free Uncrustables that Candace was talking about. Like I'm gonna do that. So I think like that's also important to remember from a qualitative standpoint, in addition to all these other metrics.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think that one of the whole goals of working with creators is brand recognition, right? So that when they go shopping, they choose that one. I can't tell you. I've been waiting for them to be released, so I can't tell you how many times I've gotten on my Instacart and typed it in and been like, name of them right now, but I've typed it in and been like, are they there yet? Are they there yet? So even though the brand's probably going to send this some to me because I've worked with them before, I'm still going to stock up at my local grocery store as well because I'm so excited about them. But that's coming because also in certain geographical areas of the nation, a couple of my friends already have them. I don't because of where I live. And I'm like, man. So every time they share it, I'm looking at my local grocery store for it. Did they give me a link? No. Did they give me a custom coupon code? No. But they did brand recognition, and this is a huge launch for our gluten-free community. So I'm looking at my store over and over and over. And I hope Instacart sees all those searches and they're like, we got to stock this place up. So brand recognition is huge. All right, let's talk about our Creator Fit scorecard. We wanted to give you kind of a 5-minute evaluation tool for inbound pitches that you get, kind of to help you gauge whether this is a good fit. So we're going to walk through a live example of evaluating one sample creator request, and you can follow along in our scorecard. So this is our creator scorecard, and it talks a little bit about vetting the creator. This is our first step, then audience alignment, securing the partnership, and then from and beyond, and you add it up from there. So we're going to start here with the vetting the creator. And
And
so
you can scan the QR code too to get this freebie download as well if you want to print this out and have for yourself.
yeah, make sure you download this for yourself. We've never seen anything like this. As far as I know, we developed it ourselves. We're so excited. um, and excited to share it with you because I think for a lot of you who are brands wanting to work with creators, we've just kind of had to hope that the creator fit was good. You look at metrics, you look at those things. Hopefully, your marketing person has done their research to see if the product is a good fit. And let me just tell you, one of the best ways to know if a product is a good fit is the creator already talking about you? Do they already tag you in stories when they're making it, or in your videos? Do you happen to see your stuff in the background? It's not a sponsored post, but you already know they're using your product. That's a good indication that they already know and love your product. So we're gonna pull up our this pitch. So this is a pitch that we're going to score. So this isn't an inbound creator request. But if we put ourselves in Erewhon's shoes, so this was for Erewhon, we can use the scorecard to evaluate how good of a fit Tastemaker Conference would be for their brand. So this was us pitching Erewhon because we want them at our LA conference. Okay. So we're going to see how good of a fit that is. So we started with hi, Russell. I'm Chandace Probst, CEO of Tastemaker Conference. We'll be in downtown LA, kind of telling where it was at. Just a few minutes from several Erewhon locations. So I wanted to call this out with 700 of the biggest food content creators in attendance, including leaders in the field, like giving examples of some of the creators that will be there. Your most recent membership promotion showed how well Erewhon converts community excitement into recurring value. Our LA event puts your brand in front of creators whose audiences already travel for Erewhon experiences. And then so let's stop there. Abby, will you then pull up that scorecard?
Yep.
Okay, so going here,
So I think like the first step here, right? Like if let's say I'm Erwan, I'll just pretend. Let's say that I'm getting this email. And so I think the first thing I'm going to do, because we essentially are a bunch of creators and Tastemaker, we provide, education and community for creators, but we also create content ourselves. We're getting very meta here, no pun intended. But I would be looking at our profile, right? So going to our engagement rate, going and checking like what is our social footprint? We are active on Instagram. We have a very active newsletter, which you can't get that, you can't see that publicly, but I would be wondering that, like, hey, what are the different ways that they're hanging out online? You can see us on YouTube, you can see our presence on LinkedIn, all these different places, right? Of like how much engagement is happening. Are we being consistent, right? Are we being authentic? I think our Instagram's probably the best gauge of the type of content that we're creating and putting out about what our event is. Now, we're a little different because our in-person event is, where we do a lot of our sponsorship experiential in-person things, but we try to have a digital footprint as well through our collaborative, our podcast, and our social presence and our website. So I think
and
you would be able to see all that, right?
Yeah, and it goes right into assessing the audience. So obviously the
Hmm.
vet creator, they're kind of checking out what is Tastemaker, but assessing the audience goes back to our email where it talks about the creator's audience location matches. We're going to be in LA. That matches their home base for the Erewhon locations. The audience, age, gender, demographics, and fit their consumer profits. Well, these are all food content creators, and who do you want to be talking about Erewhon? The audience income level aligns with your product pricing. Again, as we know, we've shared this with our with these brands when we're pitching them, that 80% of our attendees are on with an ad network, meaning they make enough traffic, they get enough traffic to qualify for an ad network that makes them at least this much money. It's a certain amount, and it's different for each ad network. But those brands like Erewhon can see that. They can see that when we send that over. So yes, does that meet that? Yes. So far, all three of these in assessing audience alignment are spot on. Content themes overlap with your brand story. So going back to that email, Abby,
Hmm. Yeah.
let's that email just for a second. This is where I wanted to say we wanted to weave Erewhon into the conference in a way that feels natural to creators and fans. So we talked about doing an Erewhon Fuel bar pop-up, signature smoothies, limited tastemaker blends, where the things they're already doing, they're known for their Hailey Bieber smoothies. They're known for their smoothie bars. Let's infuse this into creators so that they can then share more. Neighborhood creator walks. So walking to, where else are you going to get an opportunity to take these food content creators, bring them to your location without having to fly every one of them and put them all up in a hotel yourself, and have them come in and experience Erewhon, many of whom will never experience it because they live on the East Coast or out of the country. But where Erewhon is expanding, this is good brand recognition and sharing it with their audience who they may live in Chicago, but many of their audience may live in LA. We have another example of a speaker lounge hydration snack station. So going back to the scorecard, those were the three things that I called out specifically for the themes that overlap with your brand story. I said, these are the things I know that you guys have done this, and here's some examples of ways we can infuse that. Values expressed in content resonate with your brand ethos. So again, we were dialing into the smoothies, we were dialing into the neighborhood walk, all of those things that matter to everyone, and they've shown that through what they've shared on their social medias, our social media pages, were in that email. So I think that's probably where we'd get from there. But then if you continue on, um, the contract includes, so we go into all of that, but I do want to go back to here's some other things that we can provide depending on sponsorship level. So we can also go even higher with, we provide on-site visibility, creator distribution, so guaranteed posts from mid to top creators. These are things that they can add on as a sponsor. They get all of these assets to use on their channels, performance, and we're sharing right here. You're going to get all the performance recap, which is great. So now, how does this look for you if you were to receive an inbound request, and how can you use that card in the same way? You're hearing from a creator. The first thing you're going to do is go, who's this creator? And you're starting right here with the vetting the creator. So this is even before you read the email. The first thing you saw is who it was, and you kind of jump over there really quick and then come back to the email. You're going to jump over there. You're going to make sure things are consistent. You're going to see if things match with their posting schedule and what you're wanting, that the comments are authentic and not too spammy, that the engagement rate is above industry standard. That's just helping you get the most successful partnership, and evidence that past partnerships align. So again, going and checking what their last brand partnerships looked like. Then you're going to come back to the email and you're going to assess the audience alignment. Now, hopefully the creator has done their homework. And this is how you know a really good creator fit. Have they answered these questions for you in that email? Have they let you know that their audience location matches your target audience and what you're doing? So if they saw that you're doing a release in Chicago only and you get an email from someone in California and their audience is California, that's probably not a good fit. And you know right there, that's not going to work. The audience age and all of these things, are they kind of talking to you a little bit about their audience, and not just their audience but why they would be a good fit to receive your product? And then you can continue to go from here, and then we're going to go into after that what it looks like. But before we do that, we're going to go into that audience alignment because there's a bit more there that we want to talk about. So Abby is going to be talking about measuring audience alignment.
All righty. Thanks for walking us through that. And also, I hope that for those of you who are, millennial aged or older, that this reminds you of those magazines when you're younger of like, let's tally up all your scores so you can see at the bottom 0 to 10, not a good fit, 11 through 18, need to do some more digging, 19 through 30, it's a yes. So thank you for having fun with us with that.
It just makes me
Like,
think of Gilmore Girls. So what is the verdict? I am an
exactly. Okay, so Candace set us up for success in really understanding like that vetting part. Now we are measuring the audience alignment and really taking the time to dig into that. So, really, right, the whole reason influencer marketing exists is because they have a direct to consumer line that is unmatched from any other marketing that I know of. And so, I feel like, Candace and I have been in this for a long time, like I said, and this to me just always, again and again, when I'm looking at different positioning and different marketing strategy, positioning that people want to do, influencer marketing, I will say this on every webinar that we do, I think sometimes is overlooked. And I think that as a brand, it is one of the most forward thinking ways that you can be integrating it into your marketing. And I know, some brands are smaller, especially with CPG brands. There's a lot of churn. Like that can be a hard industry to be in. Whether you're a tech company or a CPG brand, whatever it may be, but it is so very important, especially if your audience is consumer facing, to be dialed in because Candace mentioned this earlier, and I wanted to bring that back up here. The value of working with influencers is also this access to the audience where you can understand almost like a focus group. You are getting a two for one essentially, because not only are they going to get your product and all that wonderful brand recognition that Candace mentioned, but they're going to give you that feedback. They're going to poll their audience if that's part of, what your campaign with them is, or just what they do because they care about the product and they want to make sure that they're helping you be the best you can be as a business. You can just have such wonderful information and insight. And I know focus groups aren't cheap. And so that qualitative information that you can get back from your audience is huge. So, looking at that key data to analyze for alignment. So, digging in a little deeper, what that means on this scorecard. So, we have our audience demographics. Those are your very basic demos that we all know about, that we all have to report on our KPIs, yada, 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 age, gender, location. But I think where it gets more fun and interesting, where I think you can have a lot of fun essentially with this is the psychographics. And I think this is the another part where influencer marketing delivers well. The values, the lifestyle, the purchasing behavior, like wh- what type of music do they listen to, right? Again, we're millennial women, so I think I can use that. Candace, like if I'm marketing to her, there's a chance that she really loves like Y2K hip hop because that was her generation. And so she's gonna, like you understand who she is, and that's gonna inform where she's shopping, what she's doing, what music she's listening to, possibly like what the career choices might be. I think there's just so much information that influencer marketing can provide you, in terms of really accessing and dialing in who is this audience member more than you could get that, with other areas of marketing. And then I think third part to really focus on here is the content alignment. So does the creator's brand ethos match yours? So this is an example that we wanted to go through of like when you're looking at a creator and they've pitched you or you're looking to pitch them and thinking about, is this mismatched versus well aligned? So as I was thinking through this and looking for examples, it was tough to find just blatant examples of mismatched campaigns because another point and shout out for creators and influencers, that authenticity piece is huge in that they understand their audience and most of them have a really high level of integrity already. So if I create tires for a living and I'm a tire company, right, I'm probably not going to go to somebody that's, you know, what would be the opposite of that, Candace? Like going to a food blogger that posts about baking, right? Like in our world, like that would obviously be a mismatched thing. And I've never seen an influencer, at least in my experience, maybe way back in the day when it first started out. But it was like, I don't think we're going to see some huge baking blog randomly now posting about some tires that a company sent to her, right?
And I did
Because,
hear
yeah.
from some clients back in the day when brand partnerships officially started, and a
Mhm.
lot of the big conglomerates had the most money to spend, that these food creators were promoting some pretty odd products that
Mhm.
their audience was like, what? Like you're cooking in the kitchen, and then now you're sharing this that has nothing to do with the
Mhm.
kitchen. And they said, I remember talking to a creator, 10 years after her beginning, where she said, I still think about that first partnership of why did I do that? The money was
Mhm.
not worth it. And so I think you always want to work with creators whose integrity is high, that their audience as opinions matter more to them
Yep.
than that dollar amount.
For sure, because that is going to impact their business negatively as well. And so it's a win-win that way. And I did use a more close to home reference, right? It's like if I'm a plant-based vegan blogger, it would be very off-brand for me to start posting about bacon or beef, and I think it would alienate that. But like we were saying, that really doesn't happen too much anymore. Um, and so I think going through all of these examples here has been a really nice touch. And I wanted to take this, even though we focus on food, I wanted to pull somebody who's not necessarily a food creator, but was doing a campaign around a food product for Dunkin' Donuts cereal latte campaign. And the reason I also picked this one is yes, we're millennial women, but I was going through the line a couple weeks ago and I saw cereal latte, and I was like, that's kind of gross. Like, I don't know if I would drink that. I'm like, what is this? I don't know if that sounds good or not. And then as I was like looking through this as we were preparing for these slides, and I was scrolling through, Kate Steinberg, she does a lot of just nostalgic stuff. They did a campaign with her, and I watched it, and I thought, that's really interesting. And then you know what I did? Because of this, I went and I bought the Dunkin' Donuts cereal latte. Like it worked. I'm living proof that this actually worked. And so like this is a perfect example of that. Audience demographics. Her whole thing is about, millennial nostalgia. So they knew that they could do this whole trend, like the whole cereal thing, and have her be drinking out of that plastic bowl and that whole vibe. And then the psychographics of that are really dialed in of, okay, millennial women who drink flavored lattes are going to be the type who love convenience. They have access to that. They have probably the monetary means to go out and buy themselves little treats and all of those things. They also probably are at the age where they have kids and even, daughters of their own possibly that would want to be, drinking these things with them as well, because that is a trend and a theme, this nostalgia that we're seeing. And then, that final piece of content alignment, matching brand ethos and tone. She took this and she made a whole throwback to her being like getting ready, for school when she's a teenager with her butterfly clips and the whole thing. And I just thought it was really fun because the campaign, it's bright, it's colorful, it feels very nostalgic. And I thought it was a really fun real life example of how we can look to a well aligned campaign. So you have identified a creator that is a good fit for your brand. So now what is the next part that we're getting in here is talking about creative briefs that ensure success. I'll throw that back over to Candace.
Yeah. And I did just want to take a minute to note, I think it's important to really look at a creator has multiple different avenues for influencing. They have multiple different avenues to promote your product. So traditional content creators with evergreen content on their blog. So you have these content creators that have no presence on social media, but they're making 9 million a year on their blog from ad revenue. That's a lot. That's a lot of traffic to a post that highlights your product. So look and see what it is that you want. Okay. So you could go with that route. Blog post where they're integrating the product into the blog post that will get evergreen content, making sure that they do their SEO research and all of those things. And it's a recipe that aligns that they won't want to delete later because it goes with their whole website and what they do. For example, my website is focused on gluten-free. So if I'm wanting to do a gluten-free mozzarella stick and I'm going to be using this chip, for example, in the coating, that's going to stay on my site no matter what because I want that gluten-free mozzarella stick. So this is one avenue. The next is a newsletter, and don't ever undervalue the power of a newsletter. That is one of the most powerful ways in which to sell a product. Your audience on your newsletter, they have signed up to be a part of everything that you do. They are your most loyal followers. So if someone has a really amazing newsletter with a good open rate and great click-through rate, that is going to be a really great avenue. And then of course you have the social channels and things like that, which are fantastic. But I've seen a lot of, on the flip side, social media accounts that have 1 million followers or more, and they have a blog with a couple thousand page views a month. That's it. And it's because they're doing a great job over here. And so knowing that there are different ways to work with creators is very important. Not every creator is going to have a huge blog and a huge Instagram and a huge newsletter. You're going to really want to dial into where do you want to focus. So let's go into, there are some tools for analyzing creator audiences. Of course, Meta brand collabs, TikTok creator marketplace, or, others. So Modash is another great one that you can use. And I believe they'll drop that here in the links. But once you have found that creator fit, let's talk a little bit about the role of strong creative briefs in a sustainable partnership. Now, I've worked with many brands over the years, many brands. And getting a brief is always so helpful because then I know exactly what is expected of me. And I've usually already asked them questions before I'm even given the brief, because I want to know, what are my exclusivity rights here? What will you be using my content for? Are you wanting to use it for paid um, promotion, or just organic, or just sharing it on social and tagging me? How is that going to work? So they're probably going to be asking you those questions, but making sure you have a really solid brief. So let's look at an example of that. Okay, so here is an example brief talking about the background. Influencers will be tasked with creating and posting content on their social channels to promote and drive awareness of, this is the brand, being very clear, a new plant-based blank brand in the US. So this is important, so they know the background. The objective, this is going to be probably the most important part for your creators. That's the first place they look. The goal is to highlight, the great taste and to drive followers to try this brand and these products. I like knowing what the goal of my partnership is. And we've usually talked about it if you're getting to this point, but I like knowing that, oh, they really want to highlight the great taste, but they also want to drive followers to try it. So how am I going to get them to try it? And I'm thinking creatively about those two things. So the ask, influencers will focus on highlighting the delectable flavor profile as well as the texture and taste. Now, this one is specifically helpful in a plant-based product. They put that in there for a reason. Texture and taste for a plant-based product, so important to call out. If you have something that's an allergy friendly or vegan or plant-based or anything that's outside of like the, if you're, let's just think traditional milk, cow's milk, and you're going outside of that in any way, you're going to want to highlight the things that maybe feel different to people, like the mouthfeel, flavor, things like that. So I like that they highlighted texture and taste compared to traditional, as they said. And then primarily showcasing that this is the first plant-based from using it in dairy-free baking or cooking. And the reason they wanted us to also use it in dairy-free baking and cooking is to show the versatility, because a lot of times I tried this plant-based product once that was fantastic when I enjoyed it straight from the fridge. It was great. As soon as I put it on the stove with something else, it became oil. It was no longer a solid form of what it was, which that makes sense, right? It was plant-based. It didn't come together like a milk-based product. But unfortunately, that was a good trial and error for me. But that product was higher priced, double the cost of the traditional version of that product from that brand. And I remember thinking, oh man, I just wasted all of that. I wasted all of that because it was double the cost. So this was very helpful that they wanted to show the baking and cooking process to show that this product can be used in this way. So I think that's important. So as you can see here, there's a lot of things that you can call out, but the ask, the objective, the key messaging, these are all very important. And then some example copy to help you get started. I think sometimes this is left out, and it's very important and helpful for the creator because it helps them know what you would ideally love to see. But be patient and always, always let your creators use their creativity. That's what they do. And don't expect that they're going to do it word for word. In fact, I saw a well-known celebrity read on her podcast for a huge national brand what she was supposed to read. And it was very robotic. And I was like, you know this brand. You use it all the time. Just throw the card away and share what you love about it. And I was thinking that's a really missed opportunity there, but it was because the brand had given very specific call outs that they wanted her to say. And I thought, wow, well, you missed me as a listener of her podcast, because what I wanted to hear was what she loves about it as a mom. And instead, what I heard about was your national campaign. I don't care. I don't care. I care about her experience. So I think that's really important to, sure, maybe there are some mandatory call outs and that's okay, but I would recommend keeping it to a minimum, because the more mandatories you have, the less authentic it sounds coming from your creator. And then of course, key campaign dates. Those are very, very important. So some other things to consider. I think we have a next slide. Yes, Abby?
Yep.
So, and then the mandatories. This is kind of what we talked about, the visual mandatories, the copy mandatories. So you might have something specific in the copy that you need them to include, and make sure you do that because you'll want that included. As far as the visual mandatories, this is just, again, let them have fun with it. It'll be the best if you do. But if you're like, I need you to prominently feature this product, of course, that should be in every um, thing that's sent to a creator, in my opinion. Um, so I think these are things that you should always keep to a minimum, but also make sure you have the things that are important to you. And then the posting schedule date. Some other things to consider are FTC compliance, just making sure your creator discloses that it's a paid partnership always. This can get both of you in trouble if you don't. And I know sometimes creators are like, I don't want to do that because then it tanks my reach. Doesn't matter. It has to be disclosed. And then content ownership. This is extremely important that you and understand as a brand that if you are hoping to use this in a paid campaign, you will be paying 3 to 4 times the rate that you normally would because you're now using it in a campaign to help you drive sales. So you need to pay the creator equally. And then, of course, crisis protocols. If there's any worries that you may have, kind of like in a normal legal document, you can add those. Add those. Um, and then a lot of times just going over, there's usually a flat fee for campaigns like this. However, affiliate-based programs sometimes do a hybrid where there's a flat fee plus you make a certain percentage off of everything that comes through with your code. And then there's affiliate only options. And I think those work best for creators when the affiliate is high, when it's a very high amount or even a dollar amount rather than a percentage. So we don't have time to go into that in too much detail today, but you can look at ROI models and FTC compliance with this link that we're going to share. So now that we've explored some of the vetting and alignment and contracts, we'll open it up to you for questions. I hope that this was helpful for you, and we'd love to dive into your specific scenarios and help you with that.
All right. And so I think also we would love to book a strategy call too. For those of you who have questions, you scan the QR code here and you can get one-on-one insights tailored to your brand, talk through campaigns, compliance, and more. And because we're here to help you. We want to not only help creators, because that is why we created Tastemaker Conference in the first place, was to help and empower creators to turn it into a business and grow. And we have a really, really amazing base of food creators specifically, thousands of creators in our community. And we realized that there was this gap, right? Of like brands need this education as well because they come and they sponsor our event, but they're there learning alongside them. And they're there talking with the creators and influencers and getting that really important information of understanding this industry. And so we are here to empower and advocate for you as a brand as well. So please scan the code, set up a call. We would love to chat with you and just hear what's working for you, what's not, and so that we can make the industry better.
Absolutely. And I would love to chat with you. I think a one-on-one strategy call is always helpful, especially if you're looking for 2026. What are your goals? What did you do this year? This is a great time of year to, I know it's busy with Q4 and all the campaigns you probably have coming up, but looking at what worked well for you this year and infusing that into your 2026 marketing plan, but then saying, what have we not explored that we should? And we're here to help you with that. We can talk through your 2026 plan, campaigns. We work with hundreds and hundreds of content creators every day, ranging from those who recently started their website to those who are making 12 plus million a year on their blog. And so we're happy to kind of share with you the knowledge that we've gained over these years with what creators want and what they're looking for. So yeah, we'd love to chat with you more. And then you can find us at Tastemaker Conference. You can email me with any questions you have at Candace@tastemakerconference.com. And we're here to support you. You can also check out our Tastemaker Talk podcast, where we talk to wonderful creators. If you want to know more about the creator economy, be sure to talk to them. And if you're a brand that's never been to Tastemaker Conference before, we'd love to talk to you about obviously sponsorship, but if you're not ready for that yet, come as a business. We have business tickets and it's a great place to see your food content creators in action and see what they're learning and what the current trends are for 2025, 2026 and beyond. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks, everybody.